everyone. Welcome back to another Victober video. I hope you are having the most wonderful Victober ever. It's the most wonderful time of the year. And thank you for coming back and stopping by to watch a video, or welcome if it is your first time here. Today I'm going to rank the Wilkie Collins novels that I have read. And I will be curious kind of where these are in your rankings, if I rank some really low that you love or the reverse. And I'm going to go from lowest to highest. So the lowest rating I want to give, the lowest ranked Wilkie Collins is The Haunted Hotel. And this book I read in one sitting. I actually remember I drove a long-ish distance to go meet a friend, and we watched a movie together. And so I listened to half of it on the way there and half of it on the way back, and I loathed pretty much every second. It was hard to follow. There were no characters that I felt invested in whatsoever. I was bored out of my mind. So there was nothing winning about it whatsoever. The books, that follow this have at least something that grabbed me or a character I liked. Something else about it. So just all to say, it was not a win for me. Then the next one is Poor Miss Finch. So I will link down below. I did a Victorian wrap-up video, and Poor Miss Finch is the one that I talk about at the very beginning. And it was just not a book that I enjoyed. There was not a single character that I loved. The closest I came to loving or being attached to a character was the narrator. It's written in first person. And then all of the other characters, I was either completely indifferent or I really couldn't stand them. And it follows Lucilla, who is a blind woman living in the Victorian era, and her relationship with two twin brothers. And it was just so weird, so very weird. And it was like a caricature of a sensation novel. And so sometimes sensation novels are, there's lots of plot twists and unexpected things and hidden identities, all that. And this was like that, but it was like a joke, the extent to all of the things. And I was not, I was very unmotivated to finish this, but since it was Victorian, that's the only reason that I finished it. I really did not enjoy this book. But I did feel more interested in the plot than I did in The Haunted Hotel. So that's why it is higher than The Haunted Hotel. Then the third up is No Name. And this one is actually probably tied with the next one, Armadale. They rank about the same for me. And these both are ones that I was just pretty bored for a lot of the book. And particularly with Armadale, that did not feel worth it. Armadale is around 800 pages, and No Name, I think, is more around 500 pages. In No Name, there are two sisters with very different personalities. And at the very beginning of the book, they find out something that changes everything to do with their family, and then try to change what's going to happen to their circumstances. So out of the two sisters, I found one of them really interesting. I really loved any chapter that she was in. And this book starts off so promising. I was like, yes, it's going to be a new favorite. And then you end up spending probably 80% of the time with one of the sisters and then 20% of the time with the other sister. And the sister you spend the vast majority of the time with is the one that I wasn't interested in at all. And so it was kind of like, oh no, this book is actually just following the wrong character. It has potential, but I didn't find the other sister nuanced. She felt just like a type. And I think that Wilkie Collins, when he gets characterization right, it's amazing. But when he misses, I really don't connect with his books. So then Armadale is the next one. And this one has kind of the femme fatale sort of trope. And if there was nuance to the femme fatale character, then, which was Lydia Gwilt. I haven't forgotten her name. I will say that. then I could have gotten on board with this. It's kind of there's a whole convoluted set of circumstances where two people share a name and then consequences that happen because of that. So I could have gotten on board if I had found Lydia a more compelling character, but I didn't find her at all a compelling character. And so also kind of revenge plots are never going to really win me over. It would have to be a really unique revenge plot. I basically haven't met a revenge plot book that I've loved yet. So yeah, all in all, it was just unfortunately not a hit with me. So now we get to one that I moderately enjoyed, and that is The Dead Secret. I read it a few years ago with my Patreon book club, and I think everybody felt the same kind of way. Like, it was moderately enjoyable. It was an intriguing plot where you know that one of the main characters has this big secret and you're waiting to find out what it is for a lot of the book. There's some cozy traveling scenes, but it's pretty forgettable. It's all just kind of a blur, and I didn't really feel emotionally invested in this book, and I am a very emotional reader. Like, I want to feel the things and just feel like I really care about what's going to happen to the people in the books that I read about, or the people that I read about in books. Yeah, so it was just a very average, and I think if I had never read a sensation novel, then I would have been more impressed by this. But since I've read some really amazing sensation novels, it just felt so-so. Okay, then the next one is The Moonstone. This is one that I read the first half during the first of October and then set it down, didn't feel interested. And then that spring, I wanted to clean up kind of my TBR some, and I really enjoyed what was the second half of The Moonstone. And it also has one of the best adaptations in recent years. It was just really, really good. So all to say that I really do like this book. Unfortunately, though, I think I have to be in a very specific frame of mind to read it, because I tried reading it again this past December and I had burnt out on mysteries, so it was not the right time. So it does always, I really, really don't like it when I am coming to reread a favorite book and it ends up being that I just am not in the right mood for it, or I end up not liking it as much the second time around. So rereading is always a bit scary. So then we come to the top three, and these are all wholehearted favorites. But although I say that, The Moonstone is the only one I've tried to reread. I haven't tried to reread any of those. But the first, third place goes to The Law and the Lady. And I think what I loved about this was just how propulsive of a read it was. It's like I could not help myself. I had to know what was going to happen. And what's interesting is I had a pretty good idea of what, part of the plot, but even with that, it was just written in such a compelling way that I could not stop reading. And that is the magic of a wonderful book. It's not like I had to be surprised or shocked. It was that I really just, I had to complete the story. So it's all about a woman who's, when she's newly married, her husband, she knows he has a secret in his past. And she keeps asking him, what is it? What is it? What is it? And he's like, no, you will not want to be married to me. You will not want to know me once you know the secret. So she ends up finding out the secret. And after that, there's more details that she needs about said secret. And so it's all about her quest to find the secret. A little caveat I always give when talking about this book is there is really poor disability representation in the book. So you just have to go in knowing that. I think that this book is still very much worth being read, but I never want somebody to be blindsided by that. Okay, then second place. This may come as a surprise, but The Woman in White is in second place. This is a book that made my Victober the year that I read it. I think maybe it was the third Victober, and it just blew me absolutely away. I couldn't believe how engrossed I could be in a book. And I think that Marian Halcombe, one of these two sisters, was the highlight of the book for me. And something about Wilkie Collins' writing, just in this book, it is there, and the steady sense of suspense, the tension that is held, it just puts modern thriller authors to shame with how they can hold it for hundreds of pages and have you continue to want to read and be on the edge of your seat. And yeah, so I had to know what was going to happen. And it's one that I really want to reread. I've been scared. I've been scared to reread it, but I want to though. So at some point that will happen. Then ranking at number 1 and read for the first time this last Victober and is my, so let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. My 10th Wilkie Collins book, and just encourages me like to continue reading his catalog in case there are some favorites there, is Man and Wife. And this book will blow your mind. It has one of the most detestable, loathsome male characters that I've ever read about. I wanted to strangle this man, and I am not a violent person. He is so loathsome. Wilkie Collins has him. It's just, it's like he sculpted him with such precision, this character, that the reader is going to loathe so deeply. And there's some weird subtext going on there about masculinity versus femininity. But so it's very, very fascinating, and I just cannot recommend this book enough. I will say that the first like 170 pages was a little bit slow going, but I just had a hunch, like, because the first 170 pages is kind of backstory to set up the plot. And then you meet these 2 different female characters and 2 different male characters, and their worlds collide. 2 of them are romantically involved, and then the other 2 are romantically involved. But then there's a big wrinkle that needs to be ironed out, and this is all affected by the Scottish marriage laws at the time that said if you declared in public that you were married to someone, that you were then legally married. So all to say, it makes things very complicated, and I just could not stop reading. So I highly recommend Man and Wife. And I'm really delighted to say that 2 of my friends, Stephanie from Miss Richards Reads and then Amy from Amy of Harthridge, both read it in the fall. I think they both read it in the fall, last fall. And they loved it so much. And it's just so excellent. So yeah, it is my favorite Wilkie Collins. Interestingly, I think I'm still attached to Marion Halcombe more than I am any of the characters in it. But it was just so engrossing. Yeah, cannot recommend Man and Wife enough. Thank you, as always, for watching. Please let me know if you think some of my rankings are crazy or if you totally are on board. And if you have not read Man and Wife and you enjoy Wilkie Collins, I beg you to read this book. Thank you for watching, and I will be back with another video soon, and have a lovely day. Bye.